So in terms of the impact this has had on my classroom practice, there are 4 key areas I'd like to focus on. The first of these is pace. Now I think as a result of using OneNote, the pace of my lessons has improved massively. This is some really basic practical things, such as not having to spend time cleaning the whiteboard after each question, or running out of space when going through the answers. So I'm just maximizing that learning time for students. Equally, having everything in one place means I don't have to worry about switching between different applications or PowerPoints, and so the transition time between my tasks has also reduced, so students are just getting more out of their lessons without having to wait for me. Secondly, I believe there's a real positive impact on my behaviour management. In particular, where I'm working solely from the tablet and using OneNote in that sense, my body positioning is just much better, and I can still track the class without having to ever worry about turning my back on them at any point. Equally, I'm no longer restricted from standing at the front of the classroom, and so I have the freedom to move about the class while I'm still teaching. So this means that if there are students at the back who maybe need a bit of refocusing, I can walk over to them while still going through my examples, redirect their focus without drawing attention to them or interrupting the flow of my lesson. And I just found that's been really practical and really helpful with the use of those non-verbal cues that we work on quite a lot. In terms of planning, I found that I'm using my time much more efficiently, and it's much easier to plan an entire sequence of lessons and prepare multiple examples, either by writing them myself or by using the snipping tool from other resources and having them all available and organised at just a touch of a button. This is also really beneficial for the students as well, because it means I can easily implement Rosenshine's I do, we do, you do, with my questions on the left-hand side and student work on the right-hand side for them to complete. So by not being limited by space, it's easy to have examples up on the board, and I can check for examples that way. It's really quick and easy to prepare resources that can be used to scaffold and support students. For example, the angle sheet I showed you before, where I just printed out and attached to the front of the student packs that they were working on, just meant that they had that extra scaffold without needing to rely on me to support them every single time. I'm quite fortunate in that I teach parallel sets, so I teach the same set girls as I do boys. So it's really easy for me to duplicate multiple pages so I can reuse them with different classes, which is something, again, that's just useful in terms of my planning. But the area I feel has had the biggest impact relates to the feedback I'm able to provide students and the responsiveness of my teaching. So firstly, by being able to have a new page available for each question or example, I'm massively reducing that cognitive load on the students because they're only presented with the information that they need. So this has also helped me think about my modelling and has improved that as a result as well. Depending on what the students need, most of the styluses I've had experience of using have with them a built-in button which allows you to use a snipping tool. So this is really useful to quickly gather new questions or examples from the internet to help support students. So I did an intervention session over half term, and there were students who wanted to work on multiple different topics. And so it was really quick and easy for me to transition between each of them by just going through and collecting them from the internet using the snipping tool and having them all in that one place. Finally, having all the notes in one place means I'm able to easily collate these and share them with students who are maybe absent from the lesson, or to help the entire class. I can make the notes accessible to them via Teams, which provides them with more support for their homework or revision, which as a result, because we use a lot of Heggerty, means that the percentages my students are getting are higher because they are able to refer back to these notes from class and support them that way. So finally, in terms of moving forward, there are still areas of my practice I know I can improve on, and I do believe that OneNote will support me with this. In my experience, it's a really efficient and organised way of planning work, and although I've started using OneNote of each of my classes, I've yet to migrate everything I do over to there, and still there are still some things I do with the visualizer, for example. So moving forward, I aim to move everything over, including my starter maps, to the one place and seeing what impact that then has on my teaching from there. A big focus on the department at the moment, and in fact our academies, has been on whole class feedback, and particularly when we complete a class quiz, we complete a pro forma that highlights areas that went well as areas that might need reteaching, for example. And the example on the screen is what we currently utilise in the department. And it's a really useful way of planning, but it does take up its time in terms of handwriting all the notes. Now, what I found through exploring OneNote is that they've got very similar templates already made, which you can implement into your class. So that's an example of one on the right-hand side. And what I plan to do, and I'm going to start this with one class just to see how it works, and moving forward, is I'm going to have this available so I can summarize what happened after each lesson, as well as any housekeeping tasks, like were there any students who were missing, did I set homework this lesson, do I need to check homework next lesson, or so on, and just provide a few bullet points that will help inform my planning for future lessons and maybe any areas I need to recap. And so I'm hoping that in this sense it will help me be a lot more responsive when planning and just improving my practice that way. If you found this useful, if you do have any questions or want to discuss any points further, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thanks very much.